We often assume that billionaires with their private jets, luxury mansions, and armies of advisors are immune to costly mistakes. After all, how can someone who made billions possibly fumble in such spectacular fashion? But here's the twist. The higher you climb, the further you can fall. And when billionaires mess up, the financial consequences can reach mind-bending levels. A single decision can vaporize tens of billions of dollars, tank a company's stock overnight, or derail a legacy that took decades to build. These aren't just typos on tax forms. These are empire-shaking blunders that shook the financial world. Let's start with the first billionaire on our list, whose impulsive use of Twitter cost more than the GDP of some countries. #10 Elon Musk's $40 billion tweet. Funding secured. On August 7, 2018, Elon Musk posted a tweet that read, "AM considering taking Tesla private at $420. Funding secured." Those 9 words caused Wall Street to explode. Investors panicked, stock prices soared, then plunged, and everyone scrambled to figure out if Musk was serious. Spoiler alert, the funding wasn't actually secured. That tweet triggered a federal investigation by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, which accused Musk of securities fraud. Tesla's stock value fluctuated wildly, wiping out billions in shareholder value. To settle the charges, Musk and Tesla each paid a $20 million fine. And Musk was forced to step down as chairman of Tesla's board for 3 years. That's a $40 million loss right there, but the damage didn't stop at fines. The tweet sparked a media firestorm, lawsuits from shareholders, weeks of volatility in Tesla's stock that wiped out as much as $40 billion in market capitalization. It became one of the most infamous moments in corporate Twitter history. Elon Musk later claimed he was trying to be transparent with investors, but the SEC wasn't buying it. What's more incredible is that Musk didn't stop there. He continued tweeting market-sensitive information jokes about stock prices, meme coins like Dogecoin, even polls about selling his own Tesla shares. Some of those tweets sent cryptocurrencies and stocks into chaotic freefall. Musk's defenders argue that his tweets have helped build his image as a relatable, unfiltered genius. But his critics warn that such behavior from the head of a publicly traded company is reckless at best, illegal at worst. And when you're the CEO of a trillion-dollar enterprise, one tweet can become the most expensive text message in history. 9. Masayoshi Son's catastrophic bet on WeWork. Masayoshi Son, the Japanese tech billionaire and founder of SoftBank, has a reputation for bold, high-stakes investments. He turned a $20 million bet on Alibaba into a $70 billion windfall. But not every gamble pays. Often his massive investment in WeWork turned into a financial horror story. In 2017, Son met Adam Neumann, the eccentric founder of WeWork, and was so impressed that he committed billions of dollars to the startup almost immediately. SoftBank would eventually invest over $4.4 billion into WeWork, helping inflate its valuation to $47 billion. At the time, WeWork was pitched as a tech company revolutionizing the workplace. But in reality, it was a real estate leasing business with no path to profitability, led by a CEO who was more focused on surfboards and tequila than financial discipline. In 2019, when WeWork attempted to go public, the company's internal chaos was laid bare. The IPO filing revealed staggering losses, questionable leadership practices, and conflicts of interest that horrified investors. The market rejected the offering, and WeWork's valuation collapsed. The company was forced to scrap its IPO. Adam Neumann was ousted, and SoftBank was stuck with a giant mess. To make matters worse, Son agreed to pay Neumann a $1.7 billion exit package just to leave. In total, SoftBank's investment in WeWork ended in a loss estimated between $11 and $13 billion. It wasn't just money down the drain. It was a hit to Son's reputation, SoftBank's credibility, and the entire startup ecosystem. The fiasco cast doubt on other SoftBank-backed ventures, especially those in the Vision Fund. The bold strategy of pumping huge amounts of capital into unproven startups suddenly looked reckless instead of visionary. Masayoshi Son later admitted that he allowed emotion to cloud his judgment, saying that he believed Neumann was a visionary. But believing in a founder isn't the same as doing proper due diligence. The WeWork saga is now taught in business schools as a cautionary tale about hype, ego, and the danger of confusing charisma with competence. Sun's willingness to throw billions behind a shaky business, model wasn't just a bad investment hit, was a strategic disaster. Number 8, Rupert Murdoch's MySpace meltdown. A $70 billion missed opportunity in 2005. Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation bought MySpace for $580 million in what was considered a forward-thinking move into the digital future. At the time, MySpace was the king of social networks, pulling in 75 million users a month and generating hundreds of millions in ad revenue. Murdoch's acquisition looked brilliant on paper, and for a short time, it was. But News Corp didn't treat MySpace like a growing tech platform. Instead, they managed it like a traditional media company. The focus shifted to ad revenue, flashy celebrity ties, and superficial growth rather than innovation. The site quickly became slow, cluttered, and over-commercialized. As Facebook quietly gained ground with a cleaner interface, better functionality, and a focus on user experience, MySpace stalled. Young users left in droves. Developers stopped building for the platform. Advertisers pulled back. By the time MySpace realized it had a serious competitor, it was too late. Facebook had already taken over the social media world. In 2011, News Corp sold MySpace for just $35 million, a staggering $545 million direct loss. But that wasn't the real damage. Murdoch had invested in Facebook instead, or even bought it outright when it was still small. He could have owned a piece of what would become a $1 trillion company. Based on market analysts, the true opportunity cost of choosing MySpace over Facebook is estimated to be around $70 billion. The lesson is brutal. In tech, user loyalty is fragile, and past dominance doesn't guarantee future success. Murdoch's team made the fatal error of confusing short-term traffic with long-term innovation. They failed to keep up with user expectations and underestimated their quieter rival. It was unteed to financial loss. It was a strategic failure that cost them a front-row seat to the rise of the digital age. Number 7, Mark Zuckerberg nearly missed Instagram twice. Instagram is now one of the jewels in Meta's crown. With over 2 billion users and a value estimated well above $100 billion. But few people know that Mark Zuckerberg almost lost the chance to own it twice. In 2010, Instagram was a small app called Bourbon, with a handful of users and no real business model. Its founders, Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger, had a meeting with Facebook to explore potential acquisition or partnership. Facebook declined. Then, in early 2012, Instagram's growth exploded, reaching 30 million users with no paid marketing. Its clean design, fast performance, and mobile-first experience made it the photo-sharing app of choice. Facebook returned with interest, but by then, the valuation had jumped to $500 million. Once again, Zuckerberg hesitated. As competitors like Twitter and Google started circling Instagram with offers of their own, Zuckerberg realized the urgency. In April 2012, Facebook finally sealed the deal and bought Instagram for $1 billion. At the time, the tech world mocked the purchase. Instagram had no revenue, no ads, and just 13 employees. But Zuckerberg saw the potential not just for photo sharing, but for dominating mobile content. What he didn't say publicly was that Facebook had no strong mobile presence at the time, and Instagram was becoming a serious threat. Still, that $1 billion price tag could have been $100 million, or even less, if Zuckerberg had acted earlier. The delay cost Facebook leverage, ownership, and forced a higher buy-in. Even after the acquisition, the relationship was rocky. The Instagram founders maintained a high degree of independence, sometimes clashing with Facebook's leadership. Eventually, both co-founders left in frustration. In retrospect, Zuckerberg still made the right move by pulling the trigger when he did. But it was dangerously close to being a $100 billion mistake. If Instagram had ended up under Twitter, Google, or remained independent, Facebook might not have maintained its dominance. The mobile market could have evolved in a very different direction. In Silicon Valley, hesitation is expensive and timing is everything. Zuckerberg dodged a bullet, but it grazed him first. Number 6. Steve Ballmer laughs at the iPhone and misses the mobile revolution in 2007. Steve Ballmer, then CEO of Microsoft, was interviewed shortly after Apple unveiled the first iPhone. When asked for his thoughts, he famously burst out laughing. He called it the most expensive phone in the world, dismissed it for not having a physical keyboard, and confidently claimed it would never appeal to business users. At the time, Microsoft was the undisputed leader in computing, and its Windows mobile platform was on millions of devices. Ballmer saw the iPhone as a toy. What he didn't realize was that the smartphone was about to redefine the entire tech landscape. While Microsoft was busy defending old software licenses and clunky interfaces, Apple was building an ecosystem. The iPhone became a gateway to the App Store, mobile payments, social networking, and cloud computing. Microsoft's reaction was too slow and too fragmented. They released Windows Phone too late, lost developer interest, and failed to secure meaningful partnerships with manufacturers. The final blow came when Microsoft acquired Nokia's mobile division in 2014 for $7.20. Billionaires act of desperation to catch up with Apple and Google. It didn't work. By 2016, Microsoft had written off the entire deal and laid off thousands of employees. The mobile division was dismantled. In the span of less than a decade, Microsoft went from a dominant tech empire to completely irrelevant in the mobile space. The missed opportunity. Analysts estimate that had Microsoft pivoted sooner and taken the iPhone seriously, it could have captured at least 25% of the global smartphone market. That translates to a revenue gap of over $400 billion across mobile hardware, software, services, and app ecosystems. Steve Ballmer later admitted that his greatest regret was how Microsoft handled mobile. It wasn't just about underestimating Apple, it was about ignoring a massive shift in consumer behavior. In tech, arrogance is expensive, but laughing at the future can be even more costly. Number 5, Jeff Bezos' divorce and the $38 billion price of infidelity in January 2019. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world at the time, made headlines for reasons that had nothing to do with business. News broke that he and his wife Mackenzie Scott were divorcing after 25 years of marriage. It soon emerged that Bezos had been having an affair with former news anchor Lauren. The affair was revealed through leaked text messages and photos, creating a media storm that shook Wall Street and Amazon shareholders alike. The divorce settlement that followed became the most expensive in history. Under Washington state law, where the couple resided, marital assets were to be split equally. Mackenzie Scott walked away with 25% of the couple's Amazon shares, around 4% of the company worth $38 billion at the time. She instantly became the third richest woman in the world. Bezos retained voting control over her shares, but the financial and reputational impact was undeniable. Amazon's stock dipped amid the uncertainty, and media attention shifted from innovation and growth to personal scandal. But beyond the numbers, the divorce cost Bezos more than money. He lost the public image of being a family-oriented, disciplined visionary. Meanwhile, Mackenzie used her newfound wealth to quickly become one of the world's most generous philanthropists, donating billions to causes around education, equality, and health. Public perception shifted dramatically. Bezos was seen boarding yachts with celebrities, while Scott was praised for her quiet generosity. Some analysts argued the scandal came at a pivotal moment, when Amazon was under regulatory scrutiny and facing global expansion pressure. The distraction and damage to his image may have cost Amazon more than stock price movement alone can show. To this day, the $38 billion divorce remains the costliest in history. But the real price may be in how one personal decision altered the narrative of one of the most influential business figures of the 21st century. Number 4, Warren Buffett's $300 billion missed opportunity with Google. Warren Buffett is considered the most disciplined investor alive, with a legendary track record of value investing and long-term thinking. But even the Oracle of Omaha has blind spots in the early 2000s. One of them was Google. Around 2004, just before Google's IPO, one of Buffett's top executives, David Sokol, recommended taking a serious look at the rising search engine giant. Buffett declined. He later admitted that he didn't fully understand Google's business model and wasn't comfortable investing in a tech company he couldn't clearly value. What it wasn't a mistake of action, it was a mistake of omission. At the time, Buffett was famous for saying he only invested in businesses he could wrap his head around. But Google wasn't just another .com. It was becoming the backbone of the internet, dominating not just search, but advertising, data, mapping, video, and eventually mobile. Berkshire Hathaway, Buffett's firm, sat out. If Buffett had invested even $1 billion into Google's IPO in 2004, that stake would be worth over $300 billion today, possibly more when accounting for spin-offs and dividends. To put that in context, it would have been one of the largest and most successful investments in Berkshire history, outperforming even his $120 billion position in Apple. What makes this mistake especially striking is that Buffett saw Google's impact firsthand. One of Berkshire's own subsidiaries, Geico, was spending a fortune on Google ads. Buffett could see the power of Google's SAD model in his own numbers, yet still didn't act. He has since acknowledged it, calling it one of the biggest regrets of his career. And for someone who preaches the importance of understanding competitive advantages, missing a company with a literal monopoly on digital search is a bitter pill to swallow. The lesson is universal. Just because something is outside your comfort zone doesn't mean it's not worth understanding. Sometimes playing it safe can cost more than taking a risk. Number 3. Microsoft's missed opportunity with Android in the early 2000s. Before Android became the world's most dominant mobile operating system, its founder Andy Rubin was shopping the technology to potential buyers. One of those buyers was Microsoft. Rubin pitched Android as a flexible, open-source platform that could unify mobile hardware manufacturers under one software umbrella. Microsoft passed. They were still focused on Windows Mobile, a platform that was already clunky, poorly optimized, and losing ground. Rubin then approached Google. Larry Page and Sergey Brin saw the potential not just to enter the mobile market, but to control it. In 2005, Google acquired Android for just $50 million. At first, Google wasn't entirely sure what to do with it. But when Apple launched the iPhone in 2007, everything changed. Google quickly realized that Android was their only way to survive in a mobile-first world. Over the next decade, Android became the most widely used operating system on the planet, powering over 3 billion devices globally. It dominates in developing markets, drives mobile ad revenue for Google, and secures the company's future beyond search. Microsoft, meanwhile, fumbled every attempt to catch up. They released Windows Phone too late. Their App Store failed to attract developers. They acquired Nokia for $7.2 billion in a desperate move to gain hardware traction. It flopped. In 2015, Microsoft laid off thousands of employees and wrote off nearly the entire acquisition. Their mobile ambitions were over. Had Microsoft recognized Android's potential and acquired it when they had the chance, the mobile landscape could look very different today. Instead of being a two-horse race between Apple and Google, Microsoft might have had a dominant presence in billions of pockets around the world. Analysts estimate the lost opportunity in mobile revenue, ad data, and ecosystem control cost Microsoft upwards of $400 billion in long-term value. Bill Gates later admitted that losing to Android was one of Microsoft's biggest failures. And for a company that once ruled the software world, the irony of missing the next great software platform remains one of the most expensive misjudgments in tech history. Number 2, Howard Schultz steps away from Starbucks, then has to rescue it at a massive cost. Howard Schultz wasn't just the CEO of Starbucks. Under his leadership, the company had grown from a small regional coffee chain into a global brand with tens of thousands of stores and a reputation for redefining coffee culture. But in 2000, at the height of its success, Schultz stepped down as CEO. He believed the company could run itself, that its momentum would carry forward without his direct leadership. He was wrong. Over the next 8 years, Starbucks became a victim of its own success. The brand was diluted by overextension, the quality of customer experience dropped, and stores became generic and uninspired. Baristas were undertrained, the ambience suffered, and innovation slowed to a crawl. In a rush to scale, Starbucks forgot what made it special. By 2008, the company's stock price had been cut nearly in half. Same-store sales were declining, and customers were going elsewhere. Schultz, watching from the sidelines, knew something had to be done. He returned as CEO with a mission to restore what he called the romance and theater of the Starbucks experience. What followed was one of the most aggressive and expensive corporate turnarounds in retail history. Schultz closed over 600 underperforming stores, laid off thousands of employees, retrained every barista in the company, revamped store design, overhauled supply chain systems, and doubled down on digital innovation. The effort cost Starbucks more than $1 billion. Analysts estimate that the damage caused during Schultz's absence resulted in at least $10 billion in lost market capitalization. The comeback was successful. Starbucks eventually regained its standing, but Schultz would later admit in his memoir that stepping away when he did was the biggest mistake of his business life. The painful truth? One of the world's most admired companies nearly collapsed not because of a flawed product or a bad market, but because its visionary leader assumed the mission was complete. In reality, the mission was just beginning. Schultz's story proves that walking away from something you built too early can become one of the costliest decisions of all. Number 1. Blockbuster turns down Netflix and destroys itself in the year 2000. Netflix co-founder Reed Hastings walked into a meeting with Blockbuster executives and made a simple offer: buy Netflix for $50 million. At the time, Netflix was a fledgling DVD by mail company struggling to stay afloat. Blockbuster, on the other hand, was a multi-billion-dollar giant with over 9,000 stores worldwide, a household name and near total domination of the video rental market. The response from Blockbuster's CEO? He laughed Hastings out of the room. The leadership at Blockbuster believed that Netflix's business model wasn't scalable, that people wouldn't wait for DVDs in the mail, and that digital streaming was a fantasy. They failed to see that consumer behavior was changing, and they failed to recognize that they were standing at the edge of a cliff. In the years that followed, Netflix rapidly evolved, shifting to streaming video and investing in recommendation algorithms, original content, and global expansion. Blockbuster, meanwhile, clung to late fees and brick-and-mortar retail, believing its brand alone would carry it through the digital transition. It didn't. By 2010, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. The company lost billions in value, laid off tens of thousands of employees, and became a cautionary tale taught in every business school in the world. Netflix went on to become a streaming juggernaut, valued at over $200 billion, and credited with reshaping the entire entertainment industry. The decision to reject Netflix wasn't just a missed opportunity, it was the death sentence for Blockbuster. Had they acquired Netflix in 2000, they could have owned the future of home entertainment. Instead, they laughed. The cost of that moment? A $50 million offer turned into a $200 billion empire in Blockbuster. Its legacy was reduced to a single surviving store in Oregon that functions mostly as a nostalgia-driven Airbnb. Of all the mistakes on this list, this one is unique because it didn't just cost billions. It cost everything. Even the most powerful and successful billionaires are not immune to failure. In fact, their mistakes often carry a price tag that can reshape industries, collapse empires, or change history itself. From impulsive tweets to ignored opportunities, from arrogance to inaction, these stories remind us that vision without humility is a dangerous game. If you found this video eye-opening, make sure to hit the like button, share it with someone who loves business history, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping top 10 lists every single week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.